FYF Sportsman, it's Lamar here. We back with another podcast video. We got some game updates and highlights. Before we get into that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell before we get right into these games. We're just going to be doing some quick game breakdowns, what I thought about the games, what I think about these series going forward, and just some of my predictions for the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference in the NBA. As you can see, the first game that I want to speak about is going to be the Celtics versus the Raptors. Celtics versus the Raptors. This was a game that the Celtics controlled from start to finish. They were up big the entire time. Guys like Kyle Lowry, Patrick Siakam, they never could find their rhythm. The Celtics defense was just too stifling. And then with regards to scoring, Kemba Walker, unstoppable in the first half of this game. We had Jaylen Brown, another big game. Jason Tatum, big game as well. This Celtics team, when they lock in, that they already stout defensively, but when they lock in and their starters are able to make shots, it's a really, really tough team to beat. This team does definitely struggle when the starters aren't making shots. They don't have much depth off that bench. It's really hard to rely on Marcus Smart to be a go-to scorer. So when you have to look to that bench for additional scoring, you got Brad Wanamaker, you got Robert Williams, got Enes Kanter. But other than that, you really don't have too much of a scoring punch coming off that bench. So as they go forward, do I see them coming out of the East? They're playing great right now. I just don't think they have the depth to beat the Miami Heat. It looks like the Miami Heat are probably going to be the team to come out that other side of the bracket, being up 3-1 right now on the Milwaukee Bucks. So that would be my prediction for the East. You guys let me know what you think about that particular series as well. They play tomorrow. I'll be definitely looking forward to seeing that game. I'm curious to see if the Bucks can get a second win. If they can make it interesting. If they can get a second win and push it to, a game 6, things can get really interesting in that series, because at that point in time, anything can happen. But in regards to the Celtics Raptors, it just looks like the Celtics are really getting out-coached. Brad Stevens has been doing a really good job of putting game plans together that the Raptors have had trouble figuring out. You would think that the Raptors have a lot more depth, and they do. But this Celtics defense, they found a way. He's playing his starters 40-plus minutes, but he's found a way to keep these guys fresh. They're all young legs, but not just fresh, but they're executing from start to finish. And that's what I really like about him. I really appreciate what Kemba Walker's been bringing to this team. He's primarily bringing the leadership that they've been missing. They didn't really have this type of leadership when Kyrie Irving was there. He was just kind of trying to be a one-man show. On top of the fact that he was injured a lot, Kemba Walker's kind of humbled himself. He took a pay cut just to go play in Boston. And I think he loves and is thriving in the opportunity to play under a great coach, to be in a winning atmosphere, and to be a part of a culture and a team that just knows how to win and get it done year in and year out. So I definitely like what the Celtics got going on. I do see them finishing out this series. Next game in game 6, I just don't think the Raptors had the firepower. Kyle Lowry's hit or miss. Kyle Lowry, the first 3 games of the series, he was kind of unstoppable. But at the end of the day, he can't do it alone. There's really no other superstar or all-star player who can get it done on that roster. Siakam's essentially disappeared. He's only had one good game. Game 4 was probably his best game. And again, unless Siakam can figure it out and become the all-star player that we thought he was, the Toronto Raptors look like they're done. And, the more and more we look at it, maybe the Toronto Raptors should have traded Patrick Siakam when his trade stock was extremely high. When his trade stock was extremely high, they had an opportunity to get a player like Paul George and maybe pair with Kawhi Leonard. They had opportunities to make major my for this guy, and I think they held on to an asset that's not really as good as what we thought he was. He was playing alongside Kawhi Leonard. That can make a lot of players look better than what they are. And for Patrick Siakam, unfortunately, it looks like that was the case. Now, he did start off this season playing a lot better than expected. He was playing at an all-star level. The Raptors were winning games, but since they came back from the NBA bubble, it's just like they haven't been the same team. Marc Gasol looks extremely old. He doesn't look like he's the same. Possibly his last year in the NBA. Serge Ibaka's been up and down. Norman Powell had a great series against Brooklyn, but against the Celtics, he cannot make a shot. Fred VanVleet has been their best offensive player, but you can only rely on him offensively. Defensively, he really can't give you much because of his size, and especially against the athleticism of the Boston Celtics. So they got a lot of questions to answer, not just in this playoff bubble, but just going into next season. They got a lot of questions to answer. They got some cap space. Are they going to use it? Are they going to make some moves? Will they look to get rid of Patrick Siakam? Because he still has some trade value, but it just doesn't look like he's going to be the all-star or superstar player that they were hoping he would pan out to be. All right, for the second game of the night, we had the Clippers versus the Nuggets. Man, if you didn't watch this game, you might want to find a way to go rewatch it, because for the first 3 quarters of this game, it looked as if Denver was going to easily seal this victory. I just think it came down to just playoff experience. Down the stretch, especially in the fourth quarter, even with the lead, the Nuggets played a bit rushed, a bit panicked. They didn't value the possession. They didn't value the shot clock. Took a lot of bad shots, a lot of careless turnovers, a lot of hero ball was being played, and I think that's what cost the Nuggets this game. So, for a game where from start to finish it felt as if the Nuggets had total control. And, in the last 7 minutes of the game, Kawhi Leonard, Lou Williams, and Paul George just used their experience, their ability to make shots, and their ability to execute to just, take over and skate away with a win in a game that they definitely did not control. The Nuggets, the Nuggets did a great. Gary Harris stepped up. Gary Harris can do that from time to time. He can step up and give you a great game every now and then. I don't expect to have him to do that again this series. So for Gary Harris to step up and have a big game, I feel like the Nuggets, you have to capitalize on those games, because you only have so many of those games where guys like Gary Harris can step in and give you a great game, especially when Jamal Murray was struggling from the field. Jokic did his normal. He was essentially unstoppable down low. But again, down the stretch, we saw Jokic revert back to his normal self. Revert back to not contesting shots on the defensive end. Taking lazy attempts at the end of the game. And then also just relinquishing or passing the ball to other people when he should be taking those big shots at the end of the game. I think that's something where Jokic and Jamal Murray are both going to have to learn how to be the leaders of that team. And at the end of games, the same as we saw Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Lou Williams do, your leaders of your team have to be the ones taking those shots at the end of the game. You can't continue to put the ball in the hands of guys like Michael Porter Jr. or Jeremy Grant and ask them to win the game for you. We saw late in that fourth quarter, Jeremy Grant missed 3 wide open 3-pointers in a row. Yes, those were great shots, but I think the moment was too big. There was too much pressure. I mean, if he makes 2 of those threes, Denver probably wins this game. But he struggled down the end. These are shots that he made all series long early on when they're up, when there's no pressure. But when there is pressure applied and he needs to make that big shot, you have to put the ball in your stars' hands. So that's something that the Denver Nuggets are going to have to learn down the stretch. I think Mike Malone should have did a better job of putting Jokic and Jamal Murray in that high pick and roll that was so successful in the first 3 quarters. It not only created looks for both of them, but it also created looks and openings for guys like Gary Harris and Monty Morris, other guys who helped step up today, and they also had big games. Paul Millsap struggled in the first half. He had a better fourth quarter, but for the most part, that was Michael Porter Jr. He did most of the damage at that power forward position for the Denver Nuggets. For the Clippers, we're still waiting to see that big game from Montrezl Harrell. He's won the 6th Man of the Year award. Ever since he's entered the playoff bubble, he has not been himself. He's still playing with that same fire, but his ability to score the ball, his ability to defend the same, it just hasn't been there. So hopefully Montrezl Harrell can get back to himself. Zubac has been highly efficient in the few minutes that he gets. I wish they would play him more. But again, I understand that Jokic was giving him a lot of trouble today, frustrating him, using his ability to make shots from the 3. and to be crafty on the inside to score on them. So Ivan Zubac struggled a lot today. Again, he's still been serviceable. He's a highly efficient player. He can defend. He can score in the short amount of time that he does. Kawhi Leonard with another great game. Double-digit points, double-digit rebounds. They doubled him a lot today. He turned the ball over. He was going back to the basket on traps. They were able to get the ball away from him a few times. That was why the Nuggets had so much success early on. Paul George definitely took over this game. Had probably his best game of the playoffs. And I like what Paul George said in the press conference. Paul George spoke about the fact that they cannot rely on Kawhi Leonard to do it offensively and defensively. He brings it defensively every night. You cannot ask this man to score 30 points every night and give the same intensity defensively night in and night out. Somebody has to step up. Somebody has to take that scoring load off of Kawhi Leonard. And when Paul George is able to step up and do that, that is what makes this Clippers team unbeatable, because we know that you have Lou Williams, who can give you 30 at any time. We know we have Montrezl Harrell, who can explode at any time and give you a 20-point game. You even got the Morris twin, who can also do something similar with his shot-making ability. And although Reggie Jackson's fallen out of the rotation, he's another guy who can get hot and make shots as well. So Clippers, they're starting to look like the team that we thought they could be, but I just want to see more consistency out of them. They cannot play 3 bad quarters against a team like the Lakers and hope to come away with the win at the end of the game. That's just not going to happen with the experience that the Lakers have. They're going to finish those games. So I really want to see the Clippers start to finish games. It's similar to the way the Celtics finished off the Raptors today. They were up big, and then they also ended the game. They stayed up big. They didn't allow a team to creep back in and make it interesting at the end. So hopefully the Clippers can find that discipline to lock in for a full 3 quarters. If they can figure that out, they're definitely going to be the NBA champions in my book. Hey, that's the summary of today's games. Guys, let me know what you thought about today's games. Let me know what you think your predictions are for the Eastern Conference playoff battles and the Western Conference playoff battles. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think. Also, hit us up on Instagram and Twitter. Again, we are looking for a second host for the show. If you think you have what it takes, you want to start joining us on these podcast shows, hit us up in the email, business@fyfsports.com. Hit us up in the email. Let us know if you think you have what it takes to come onto the show and be a second host. But other than that, it's been a great podcast video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will be back soon with some more game day breakdown.